What's up, beautiful people? Wow, that was like really intense. Hello. Oh, wow. I feel like I'm really peaking there. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. And it's upside down. Welcome to, finally, my spoiler-filled review of 12 Months by Jim Butcher, the 18th book in the Dresden Files. Long-awaited sequel, continuation to Battleground and the events that happened in that book. Now, if this is your first time reading the Dresden Files, thinking of reading the Dresden Files, or you're in the middle of the series, you're on book 5, and you're just peeking around to see what's been going on with the girlies as the story has progressed, I'm going to ask you to stop right now. You can go back on my channel if you want to see my spoiler-filled vlogs for those books, because I did do a reread back in 2024, but please stop and do not continue. I will be talking about a lot of different things in here, and it will spoil a ton of different things for you. So now that that's out of the way, we're going to talk about this book. I think this is going to be a little bit different than some of the other spoiler-filled vlogs, because this book is different from the other books in the Dresden Files series. And Jim Butcher said as much, so I think I mentioned at some point in time in one of those clips, but I will mention it again. I did actually go to an event hosted by Murder by the Book here in Houston for the release of 12 Months back in January. So I've had this book since pretty much its release date, maybe a day after or two, because I think he came like a day or two after it was officially released. We went, I'm sorry if you can hear bongos in the background. Baby is playing with bongos, legitimately. That is it. And this is it. So please forgive. Hopefully the mic is helping enough. Hopefully it doesn't drive you more crazy than it drives me. So yeah, I did go and see him talk about 12 Months and just like tidbits about the Dresden Files. And he did mention that 12 Months was a difficult book for him because, one, it wasn't a planned book. So he talked a lot about it, and he's staring at me. Okay, yeah, so he did talk a lot about this. So originally, from what I remember, now granted this was in January, Butcher mentioned that when he originally plotted out the Dresden Files back when he was in his creative writing class, that it was going to be a 23-book series. Like, he had it completely plotted out, which totally makes sense. If you read the series, it's pretty obvious that Butcher had a plan from the start. It was like laying ground for everything that has happened thus far. And, that things that you didn't know we were working towards, we've been working towards a long time. So he did mention, though, that now the series is officially going to be 25 books. So this is book 18. I believe he said it'll go up to book 22. And then there will be a 3-book epic conclusion to the series, is what, if I remember correctly, he said. But where that plays into 12 Months is 12 Months wasn't a planned book per se. So after writing Battleground, basically Butcher was like, we need to take a break. We need to take a moment. We all need to process. Harry needs the process. We need to reset our world. And he did compare this to Ghost Story, which is also a similar, not a similar style book, but a similar like pause in a way to the story, where we have Harry not full guns a-blazing trying to save somebody necessarily. I mean, he is trying to save somebody, I feel like, in both of those books, but it's really himself. So they are tied in there. Interestingly enough, though, apparently I did not know this, but Ghost Story is not many people's favorite book. It is my favorite book. I guess I'm the odd man out there. But I didn't realize I was kind of matching this book cover. Got blue-green going on, totally planned. But I will say I did like Ghost Story better than 12 Months. Only because really this book is a pause. It almost feels like, at least the first half of this book really feels like a bunch of short stories in the Dresden Files series. Like, that's kind of, to me, how it read. Like, there isn't like an overarching mystery that he's trying to solve. There isn't like some big thing that we're building up to in here necessarily. I mean, there is still like a quote unquote big battle conclusion. It's not big. Like, comparatively, it's not big. But like, there is like a battle at the end of sorts. But it's nothing crazy compared to some of the battles we've been in. But yeah, I think the first half of 12 months was a little difficult for me. Not that it was bad. Like I said, it just, because it doesn't have the same momentum that most of the Dresden File has, it was just hard. Like, we're sitting with Harry, who's going through the many stages of grief. He's grieving Murphy. He is in a type of way. Like, when we start off, he's sleeping like an hour a night, and he's just barely surviving, trying to hold it together. He is now essentially manning a castle filled with refugees. He's in Marcone's castle, Merlin's castle. I'm sorry if you hear him blowing raspberries now. He's in Merlin's castle. Some of his neighbors are now refugees in there, and he's doing his best to keep it together. And then, of course, what we learned in Battleground is Mab has essentially done... Okay. Quick pause for a second. I really didn't think about this until after I was reflecting on the book. I was like, but man, is Harry in the most, like the most... Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Royal situation? Like, so he's in an arranged marriage. And I was like, crazy, because they're bringing the White Court together with Winter Court. I was like, but this is some real, like, English monarchy, incestuous type of shit. Like, I was really thinking about it. So, because let's think, Mab is technically his great aunt, right? Like, that is pretty much what we've been told. I can't remember which book. Help me out if you remember off the top of your head. But we learned that Mab was potentially Morgana, and Ebenezer is her brother. Was her brother, because like Mab is not Mab anymore. I mean, but Molly still treats her family like family. But it's been a long time since Mab has been human, right? So essentially it's his great aunt. So his great aunt, who's also his queen, uses him as a diplomatic boon for this marriage to Lara, who, although not biologically related to Harry, is his brother's half-sister. Like, I was thinking about this if Lara and Harry had a baby, let's say. I don't think that's going to happen, but in this world, let's say it does. Thomas would be that baby's uncle on both sides. Think of how weird that is, right? Like, that's fucking weird. Okay? I'm just saying, like, that is really fucking weird. So, I mean, I'm sorry, that's a tangent, but I mean, it is a major plot point. It is one of the major plot points in this book. And so I had been thinking over that after the fact. I was like, oh my God, what's such an incestuous kind of situation we've got going on here? And I was like really giving like messy royalty vibes. Anyway, so yeah, 3 weeks after Battleground, he is deep in grief. I mean, not only is there the situation of Murphy passing and him going through immense grief, we also have Thomas, who's in a stasis on Demon Reach. And yeah, Harry is fighting to find the will to live. I would say if Harry didn't have Maggie, I feel like he probably would have lost that battle pretty quickly. I think, and I definitely think Butcher like highlights that in the book. But that's kind of Harry's stasis on here. And then, we had the agreement of this being a 12-month grief period, essentially, before the wedding. And I told you he had a lot to say. How's this? Better? So that's really like the setup of this book, was that he gets these 12 months to grieve and get his life back together after everything happened. But in the interim, he still needs to be wooing Lara. And Mab is pushing real hard, as Mab would, while Molly is trying her best to coach Harry and be there for Harry. Although she kind of disappears in the second half of the book. And I honestly think it's because there's so much that Butcher is trying to set up for the, what? We've got 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Okay. He's trying to set up for what we have going on in the next 7 books to complete this series, and kind of laying the groundwork and getting everybody where they need to be, and getting us to where he can continue the story in book 19. And because of that, I do feel like characters that we see more of characters that we haven't seen more of, and then less of characters, like some of our characters who pop in are really just popping in, like Michael or Butters, Molly, Maggie, Mouse. Like all of those characters are there. They're all there, but I wouldn't say any of them are playing like super central roles to the stories, to the plots that are going on. It's mostly Lara, Mab, and there is Thomas's problems. Yeah, so I would say like those are the 3 people that we are like circulating around. And then there is also some residuals from the battle, like Dracul, and some shit going on with the vampires there. Now, I did not charge this camera. How much time do we have? 50%. It looks like less than 50% on there. Of Molly being in there, I think she really exits for the most part after a scene. Lara, one of their dates that they're having, so they have to have these dates. One of their dates is the White Court does like a Halloween party, and Molly and Harry go as Erwin and Gandalf the Grey, I believe. And Lara is, what's her face? She's one of the characters in Lord of the Rings as well. But so they go to this Halloween party, and that's where like Dracul comes into it all. He appears at the party, which he always gets like an invite but never shows up. And essentially Harry and him are having this conversation about how he's going to get revenge eventually. And Dracul's kind of cool, calm, and collected about it, to be honest. He was like, listen, it was the heat of the battle, man. Like, don't take it so personally kind of situation. He's like, it was a different time and different place, which I thought was really funny. But I think it's kind of like a Mab thing. Like, once you get so old, you just like don't take things as personally all the time. Although then sometimes they take it super personally. They're crazy. I honestly think most of those creatures who've lived like a super, super long time have just like lost their marbles a little bit, because they're just so devoid from what it's like to be a mortal and like be in the world and have to deal with consequences. I am having such a hard time of really going beat by beat through this book, because I don't really want to do that. I don't feel like the book is laid out in that way. Like I said, there's so many like little bits of stories going on. We have issues with the magical community and a building resentment by the people of Chicago because the city was destroyed, and they're really putting some shit on like a lot of the minor magical community, because those are the people they see, right? We end up near the end of the story with them actually protesting outside of the castle, and what that entails and what that's going to build up to be. Like, we have the ghouls who are taking advantage of the situation, and Harry gets involved with that because people are being killed. And we find out that Daniel Carpenter has started this like group of militant religious magic fighters, and all that entails with of having like people in there who are abusing that situation and hurting people in the magic community. We have a smaller group of practitioners doing black magic because they're trying to protect themselves from this group. We've got Dresden deciding whether he wants Maggie to be in the castle. And then, of course, we find out that Harry is literally summoning a shade of Murphy to like play Monopoly with every night, and is obviously not coping well with the loss of ultimately one of his best friends and his love, like, and his girlfriend. Like, yeah, so he's summoning up for Shade. He's also taking on a new apprentice. We have Fitz, who actually comes from Ghost Story, so like that connection there is kind of interesting as well. And Fitz has become an apprentice, working with Morty. We also find out Morty kind of put him with Dresden as well to keep an eye on him because he knew that he was talking to Murphy Shade. So we have like all of these situations going on. And then we really start to coalesce on the stories that are, I feel like, going to make the most impact going into the next books and the overarching plot lines that we have. The first one being, Harry's relationship with Lara. And I say relationship, it's partnership. We find out more about the White Court, find out that the Hunger is actually an outsider, which was like a crazy tidbit that I thought was super cool. So basically, like, Harry's like, I need to learn more about the Hunger, right? Which makes sense because Thomas and how his hunger is devouring him. So he's like, if I'm going to take this seriously, if I'm going to save Thomas, I've got to figure out how to get his hunger in control. And so he essentially is like, can you tell me about it? Learns about it. We learned that it's an outsider, which is fucking wild. And is like, okay, I'm going to create a spell to figure out how to sate the hunger so it doesn't demolish Thomas, or if not that, figure out how to divide it. And he asks Lara to be a guinea pig with it. And obviously she agrees because like she wants to save Thomas as much as Harry wants to save Thomas. It's probably like one of the few things that Lara and Harry can like absolutely agree on. And not that I would say like I've mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. I really like Lara as a character. I don't necessarily have a problem. Like, do I think that her and Harry are going to have like a real romantic relationship? I don't think so. But do I hate him spending more time with Lara? No. I think she's an interesting character. I think she brings a lot to the table when it comes to the story, and like she's got a lot of resources and she's very interesting. So I'm fine with Lara being around more. But so she agrees to this and Harry succeeds. And essentially we find out that when Mab was like, you need to get her hooked on you, like you need to seal the deal, she was talking about this shit of basically like Harry feeds Lara's demon, feeds her outsider, and it is so satiating because he is of winter. He's a starborn, and so essentially he like pours life force into the hunger, and the hunger is satiated in a way that it's never been before for her. So it's essentially she becomes addicted on this type of feeding from Harry. And that's what Mab wanted all along. And it fucking pisses Harry off. And I feel so bad for Lara. And Harry essentially promises that he's going to figure out a way to make this right and make Mab pay for this bullshit. And the funnier thing is that Mab knows about this, and we find it out because the plan essentially is that they're going to do this in Demon Reach to Thomas, right? And she gives Harry a boon for doing what she asked, and he wants her to give her full assistance behind this project with Thomas, this last-ditch effort to save Thomas. And essentially in the scenes where she's working to get this together, she admits that she knows that Harry is trying to undermine her, and she's like, yeah, he's got to do what he's got to do. It's fine. And it's another reason that I absolutely love the character of Mab. Like, she is so complex and so evil yet practical yet not evil. Like she takes her responsibility of protecting this realm like super super seriously. So it's like you can't even call her evil. She's just mad. She's just mad. And I love that she's aware that Harry's like, I'm gonna fucking, it's wrong. It is wrong. Like I said, I feel super bad for Lara. It's a really fucked up situation. And it becomes more fucked up because, I'm sorry, I'm dropping the F-bomb a lot. It becomes more crazy because how she helps with Thomas. So she's like, he wants her to find Justine. He wants her to help with the spell. She does. Finds Justine. Justine's in an icicle. She's threatening to kill Justine and the baby if Thomas doesn't wake up and get it together. Harry is able to work with the outsider and basically like, hey, you could kill him. However, then you just go to like Empty Night. Finding out what Empty Night meant as well is very interesting. But you just go to the Empty Night, or you can keep hanging around and get fed some more. And so he basically agrees to like help Thomas heal and get him back together. And once that happens, it's like, oh, Justine's in a bad type of way. Barely like nourished. The baby's about to come. And Mab's like, I can get rid of this outsider, but like it's not going to be pretty. And she brings in Mother Summer and they deliver the baby. And lo and behold, we found out a way to fix the problem with Etri, and it's to give Thomas's baby to Etri. It was so sad, y'all. Like, I mean, I get it. One, it's a nice way to tie up this little knot here and figure it out, because that was a big problem that we had. It's like Etri's community was like, no, you've got to fix this or give us Thomas. So like something had to give. And writing in an infant all the time in this situation, not helpful. You know what I mean? Like, difficult. It's already hard, like, Harry having a daughter who's younger and how that gets written in and where she fits into the story when he's doing all these things. Now imagine an infant, right? Like, I totally see, like, not only as, like, an excellent way to wrap up this part of the plot, but also, like, an easy out to not have to write about Thomas trying to care for an infant. But it was tough. I was like, I don't know who's having a worse time. I think Thomas having a little bit of a worse time than Harry, and that's like a hard to beat. So, I feel like that was like ultimately our biggest plot points that are going to like really be through lines into the next books. Some other notable things that I really liked about this book, I enjoyed Bear. So Bear being Dresden's like Valkyrie backup was really fun, especially because like Mouse stays with Maggie and he doesn't really have that backup anymore. So having like a Valkyrie around has some fun. Although I was thinking about the fact that he described her being like 400 pounds. And I'm having a hard time picturing what Bear looks like. Like, is she, I mean, she's not a giant because obviously the Valkyries fought against giants. But, like, she's not a normally sized human. I mean, I guess she's not technically a human. She's not a normal sized person. Like, 400 pounds on a dude. Like, there are linebackers who aren't 400 pounds. And, like, those are big dudes. Like, I don't know, y'all. I mean, I know muscle weighs more than fat, but, like, how big is she? I was thinking about that. But I really liked her characters. I liked the gargoyles that came in, finding a little bit about Bob's past life. And, like, the opposite of him. It's like he made, like, a super intelligent being and then making these literal rock people who take everything literally, and just the dichotomy of that was super fun. What else did I want to touch in this book that I thought was worthwhile? Like I mentioned, there is like that end battle with a combination of like some of the white court, the black court, and the ghouls. The thing we took from there was Dracul seemed to be like culling his group because they killed off like two of the big bad black court vampires in this battle. And then Lara realizing that her dad has been going around making a mess were probably the biggest things that came out of that. And then, you know, overall, Harry accepting Murphy's passing and going to be able to move on-ish. You know, I've seen speculations on Reddit posts about if Murphy's going to come back as a Valkyrie. Some people saying there'll be a workaround because maybe what's going to happen in the finale is going to be Ragnarok, the end of times, that she will come back as a Valkyrie. Yeah, so I've seen some theories about if Murphy can come back. I mean, I would like her to, obviously, but I understand if she doesn't. I'm still sad about it, still upset about it, still, you know, not happy. I did also say, some people say, like, they saw the foreshadowing. I don't know. I guess I was in my own little La La Land, or maybe it's because I just had waited for so long that I just was pissed. Even like a little bit longer. It did remind me of a situation with Veronica Mars. If you watched Veronica Mars, there was the last season that they did on Hulu, which was like 10 so years in the future. And in the end, spoilers on this too, in the end, they killed Logan, and the showrunner was like, oh, this allows it to be just a detective drama again. And I feel like that's stupid. I feel like somebody can be in a relationship and still be a detective, and Veronica could have learned and grown. And I think the same could be said for Harry too. I don't think, I mean, obviously we have the storyline about Harry getting married to Lara for political reasons, so I can see how that assists the plot. But, you know, if the goal is to make Murphy stronger and not immortal, then I guess if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. But Butcher has a plan, and I'm just here for the ride to see what the plan is. I am not as much in the business of trying to make predictions for the Dresden Files. Oh, we were going through just other things that I really enjoyed about the book. I'm glad at the end of the book, Thomas did come around and forgave Harry, even though I feel like he was misplacing the blame of the situation. I honestly, like, I get why Thomas was upset, but, like, Harry did not make those choices for Thomas. Like, Thomas did not give Harry and Lara many choices to make, and Harry was doing the best with what knowledge he had. Also, having come out of this battle that Thomas wasn't even a part of, losing someone he loves as well, and just really trying his best. So, like, I mean, Harry fucks up a lot. Harry makes a lot of mistakes, but I did feel like Thomas just needed to think it through a little bit more. Maybe have Lara, like, talk him down, because his anger was really misplaced, and that Harry was really doing his best with what he knew. Like, Thomas was almost dead, and there wasn't much else that Harry could have done, really, I think, in the situation. Yeah, I think those are really all of my general thoughts from 12 months. Like I said, I wanted to like this book more than I did. I appreciate the need for it. I always appreciate Butcher's ability to allow his characters to deal with the consequences of their actions and the actions of others in the world, and really showing that reflection in the books. I think just the first half was pretty hard, and like I said, it was a bit more of like vignettes and not as cohesive as like Ghost Story was, which I really, really loved, obviously. But as a whole, I think it was a necessary and good addition to the Dresden Files. I do know what I want to wrap up with this. So I do know in one of the other clips that I was giving my reaction, we had probably my least favorite character, one of my least favorite like literary devices that Butcher uses is Dresden's subconscious with the goatee. I don't know why he has to have a goatee, why Harry feels like a goatee would make someone cool. Like, I've never thought a goatee made anybody cool, but he has a conversation with his subconscious, my friend-ish frenemy, and he basically tries to insinuate that because Lara could touch Harry and do that, like plant that big kiss on him at Halloween and things like that, that did he really love Murphy? Did she really love him? Because that was happening. And I fucking hated that. He always says the fucking worst things. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm dropping so many F-bombs. He always says the worst things. And I was so pissed when that scene happened. So I was very glad that Mab clarified for Harry why that was happening, because essentially it had to do with Harry's belief, you know, having the two women that he's loved in his life, or take that back, two of the three. So two women he's loved in his real adult life both pass away in conjunction with things that he was fighting for. She was basically like, you've lost your confidence in the fact that you deserve to be loved, and therefore the magic's not protecting you. And I thought that was so interesting. But I was so thankful for Butcher, because I was like, don't do that to us. I was like, that's not cool. I'm like, don't soil something that it was clear. Don't do that. So I was very glad that Mab gave some clarity on that situation. And that's where I want to leave things off, because I was like, I cannot believe we're going through a story, literally him having grief and then trying to insinuate in a way that their relationship wasn't what he thought it was because Lara can touch him, was infuriating. I was so pissed. And it's always with his subconscious. Again, one of my least favorite things. But, yeah, I want to wrap it up here. Happy to be caught up. Looking forward to the next book. Really want to hear your thoughts, so please let me know what you thought of the book. And if there was anything that you thought I kind of missed on major points. Like I said, I wasn't trying to go on a plot point basis because I just didn't feel like this book was designed for that kind of conversation. Those were just thoughts. I also have like pages and quotes and things from the book that I just wrote like page numbers down. But really, I just wanted to have a chat with y'all. I feel like my Dresden File viewers, my Dresden File spoiler vlog viewers, a little different than some of the other people who visit my channel and watch some of my other videos. And so like, I feel like I haven't caught up with you guys in a long time. So I'm happy to be here and getting to do this conversation again. I would love to know, because I do really like doing spoiler-filled vlogs, so I would love to know if there's another series or another book that you would like me to do spoiler-filled vlogs on, since who knows the next time that we'll be getting a Dresden Files book. I mean, I could do the short stories which I probably should at some point. But again, short stories are not my bag, really, but I can if need be. But I was thinking of possibly of doing The Red Winter by Cameron Sullivan, because I do love the werewolf story. What is it? The werewolf of, yeah, The Beast of Givaudan. I do not speak French, so I am so sorry if that is completely off on the pronunciation. But I did think about doing this one. Yeah. If there are some other series you'd like to see me do, I haven't read Brandon Sanderson, so I could dive into the Brandon Sanderson world. Some of those books just seem so chunky, y'all. That's my biggest concern about that. So let me know in the comments. Let me know what you thought of 12 months. Thank you so much for coming back and hanging out with me. And I hope that you enjoy the World Cup if you're watching it. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.